Inner Peace, Better Health, where we tune into the wisdom within the built calm that lasts. I'm your host, Shreya. Today's guest is Donnie Summers, a transformational coach and intuitive guide who teaches emotional intelligence and regulation not as trains, but as tools for deep inner freedom. Donnie blends subconscious reprogramming techniques like NLP, EFT, and parts work with grounded presence that helps people shift from chaos to clarity. If your emotions feel like they run you, this episode is your invitation to take the reins. Welcome, Donnie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm honored to have you on my show. And my first question will be, Donnie, you work with people to unravel emotional blocks. What do you believe is the root of most emotional dysregulation in today's world?
Well, I think a few things is our past. I think our past, our body holds on to everything like a supercomputer, and everything that's not processed and dealt with is subconsciously brought forward. And we repeat these patterns, emotions, and situations in our lives in one form or another until we really take a look inside and somatically process things and emotionally process things, mentally process things so that we can create new neural networks, new behaviors, new actions, and new mindsets.
Yes, that's so wonderful. And is it more about resolved past experience or the pace of modern life?
Well, I mean, modern life has a lot to do with it too. I think there's a lot of ways that we're not living naturally in a lot of ways.
Yes.
We're not really connected to nature the way we used to with technology and a lot of unnatural technologies that, you just wouldn't find in nature. So yeah, I think that also plays a role in the way we feel as well. And I think a lot of cultures have a lot of traditions have changed. I mean, like so there are some countries that keep their traditions, and there are people that pass those down and always have. But also there's a lot of ways we're disconnected to the culture, not just because of technology and nature, but from each other. And that creates a lot of disconnection from life because we're not connecting that, I think, in a way that's natural, that's helping us to stay, we're supposed to be in tribes, so to speak, and be working together. And that's another thing that plays a part in that as well.
Yes, and that insight cuts deep. The roots that we have named are so often overlooked. So emotional intelligence gets thrown around a lot these days. What's your definition of it, and how do you help clients actually embody it?
That's a good question. So I think emotional intelligence is a few things. One is, I think, is something called mindfulness. And that's understanding and feeling, being able to feel what's happening in your body, in your senses, being in touch with your senses, and also being in touch with really your conscious mind and learning how to get back in rapport with your unconscious mind. Because I think that's once the conscious mind and unconscious mind can kind of come together in balance, that we actually create more balance in our life. So emotional intelligence is understanding not just sensations, but also our thoughts and thinking, and understanding how situations affect us, understanding why we're thinking a certain way, being able to recognize when something's healthy or unhealthy that we're doing or that we're receiving, and having the wisdom and the intuition and the, again, emotional intelligence to be able to decide to choose something new, to create something different.
Absolutely wonderful. And what's one daily practice to strengthen the emotional awareness?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I think honestly is presence. Practicing presence really helps a lot. And so something really small that you can do, it's an exercise actually from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's called STOP. And that's where you literally just stop what you're doing. You take a breath, you observe your thoughts, your emotions, and your sensations, and you proceed with a plan of action from there. It's just a really quick mindfulness exercise. And if people can practice this every day, where you're just noticing in your day for a moment what's happening. And so every morning, for example, when I get up, I do a mindfulness meditation and I sit and I notice what I'm feeling in my body. I notice what thoughts are there. And instead of letting those run wild, I give myself a time and space where I decide not to do anything about any of the thoughts I have, any of the sensations I have, other than just to sit with them and to notice what's going on. And after that's going on, then I can start labeling what's happening for myself. So if I'm having a thought that's like, I have to hurry, I need to get to this place, this person's going to be mad at me if I'm late, then I might be able to look and recognize, oh, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling fear, something like that. And then I can reframe that into a way that's going to help me move forward in a positive way. So if I notice, oh, I feel that in my chest, that's when I can have compassion for myself and just notice like putting a hand on my chest and just taking a breath into that. And then with those thoughts, then deciding, okay, how can I move forward without deciding to be anxious, without deciding to carry fear with me? How can I move forward knowing that I have things to do, that I want to make sure they get done correctly, and move forward in a way that brings me balance versus makes me move faster, makes me feel more anxious and fearful.
I think that's such a simple and powerful practice. And thank you for making the emotional awareness feel so accessible. You use tools like EFT and parts work. How do these subconscious methods support emotional regulation beyond the traditional talk therapy?
So one thing that's great about parts work is that for those who don't know about something like internal family systems, or there's a few different branches of parts work, but parts work is basically looking at our thoughts as almost like a committee that lives in our head. And looking at those as like, there's a judgmental part, a critical part, a judging part, an avoidant part. There's all these different parts inside of us. And it's learning how to communicate with those parts and learn to listen. So if I notice there's a part that comes up that says, oh, you always mess this up, you just can't get this right, see how everyone's always mad at you, whatever it is, then I can notice that's just one part. And I can start learning how to ask that part questions and to notice where I feel that part in my body, where that's being activated in my throat, my stomach, my chest, my head, my eyes, whatever it may be. And that brings back into mindfulness again of how to be with ourselves and create new relationships with a part of ourselves that's hurt or that's protective, or this is where emotional intelligence comes in again, where we can start learning how to, instead of letting these parts run our life, then we're learning how to coexist with these parts, where maybe the part is driving the bus and we say, okay, I'm going to drive the bus as the self, as the higher self. I'm driving the bus, but this part is going to be on the bus with me. And it's going to have its opinions and thoughts and feelings. And it's really learning self-acceptance, that we're not trying to get rid of these parts of ourselves, that we're actually learning how to bring acceptance and love to these parts. And so parts work also combined with EFT, and EFT is something that we use to tap on acupressure points. And what this does is it helps release energy from our body, because each organ is associated with an emotion and different characteristics. And so for example, the liver hold anger. And so there's a tapping point for the liver. So basically all EFT is it's being honest about what you're feeling, any negative emotions, negative thoughts that you have, and you're tapping on certain points of your body, and it helps release this energy. And then you tap in positive emotions, positive change, positive affirmations. That's a really simplified form, but combining these two together is phenomenal work, because people get amazing results with it. Yeah.
I think that's really great and wonderful, that how you combine these things and how it helps people. So can you walk us through a moment when a client had a breakthrough using one of these tools?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I had a client who was having difficulties with a parent, And what we did was parts work. And so the parts work that we did was basically addressing what's called an exile in internal family systems. And an exile is basically a part that, and most of the time, an inner child part at a certain age that feels like it's been exiled, abandoned, not good enough, pushed away in some way. And so it ends up hiding, and it becomes that insecure voice inside of us, that hurt voice, the abandoned or rejected voice. And basically what we did is we typically in front of an exile are protectors, parts that try to distract us or protect us from getting to that part. And once we got past the parts that protect, we actually got to that injured little girl inside and let that part express itself. And that woman got to reparent that inner child, to bring it back into acceptance so that that part could be integrated back into the subconscious and conscious mind, to have that shift so that she no longer felt trapped anymore. And she had a huge shift. It changed the whole relationship dynamic with her family, with herself, and even relationships that she had been drawing to herself. So she stopped drawing, for example, the same type of critical female friends she had, and the same type of men where she had negative relationships with. She started noticing that the men that were asking her out were, had different personality styles than she was used to in her past, that she consistently drew into her life.
That is amazing, actually amazing. And from there, I have a question that you are known for reading subtle cues, that is energy, body language, unspoken emotion. What does that sensitivity reveal about someone's inner state that words might miss?
Well, I mean, what that reveals, honestly, these things help me to see what's really going on under the surface, because a lot of times I find that when people come to me, they don't have the words for what they want to say. So they say things like, I don't know what I want. I'm just angry, or I'm just anxious all the time and I don't know why. And what I get to see is a lot of times they also don't recognize, because they've been in this state for so long, where their nervous system is consistently in this state of fight, flight, or freeze, that they don't recognize what anything other than an overactive nervous system feels like. So even when they think they're calm, they're actually still anxious. They're still having thoughts they may not recognize. So when I'm talking to people, I get to watch conscious and unconscious cues. So when someone's talking, they might say, if I ask them a question like, oh, do you feel good about doing this? And they'll say, yes, as they shrug their shoulders. That's an unconscious response, right? So me getting to see these unconscious responses that people do when they say, oh yeah, I think I can do that, and they're shrugging their shoulders, I'm recognizing subconsciously they're saying, I don't know if this is okay. And watching the subtle cues and feeling the energy that they're bringing when they're telling me something, when they say, yeah, I'm okay with that. And then I listen to the tone and I go, I'm not hearing a yes in that when they say they're actually okay with this. And then I get to reflect back to go, is that really true? Is it really true you're feeling okay with that? Because in your tone, I'm not seeing that. And in your body language, when I ask you and you lean back away, that's you backing away from the situation, So these things help me read people, and it also helps me educate the clients that I'm working with, because when they start recognizing these patterns and these things they're doing in their speech, in their body language, in the things they're doing, that becomes a more mindful experience for them. When they notice someone's talking to them and they've learned that when they cross their legs, lean back and go like this and start to look away, that they're like, oh, there I am guarding myself again. Why am I guarding? Why do I feel guarded in this moment? And then they can start checking into their body and recognize, oh, I'm feeling anxious right now. Where normally that just would have been an unconscious action they did, cross their legs and arms and lean back and look the other way. When someone's talking to them or asks them a certain question, then they start to recognize, oh, I'm feeling this emotion and this sensation in my body. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in. That's where then they can start recognizing what's actually happening with them more often, so that they can make more conscious decisions in their lives and in their mindset.
And suddenly I became a little cautious about my body language right now. And that's such a profound lens that what you notice beyond words often tell the real story. And thank you for sharing that sensitivity with such depth. Uh, so
Of
from
course.
your so from your experience, what shifts when someone truly starts regulating instead of reacting? And what's the ripple effect on their relationships or health and overall peace?
I mean, honestly, that's a great question. And what happens when people start recognizing these patterns, when they start noticing somatically mindfulness, what's happening in their thinking, it changes everything in their life. It changes the way they take in information. It changes the way they want to give out information. It changes the situations that used to be toxic or unhealthy for them to where they actually crave to make better choices, to where they actually say, I can't do this anymore. I can't feel this way anymore, where the pain of holding on to something and doing the same behavior or accepting something from somebody else becomes more painful than it was to let go of that situation, whether it's negative relationships, jobs, friends, family, whatever it may be, the pain becomes worse. And at first it's kind of a difficult phase because it's like all of the you've built a foundation your whole life. There's all these pillars holding up these foundations. And once these pillars start to fall, there's no way to put that back together the same way. Once that shift starts happening, it just changes to the opposite spectrum where you say, I can't do this anymore. Even though I'm scared, even though this hurts, I have to change this behavior, change this person I allow close to me. It makes a person want to say, I need boundaries. I can't hold on to this pain anymore. And it makes somebody change and do more healthy things. And that's, again, where mindfulness and emotional intelligence become very strong in somebody's experience. So it changes everything. Literally everything in a person's life shifts and changes from this.
Yeah, I think that regulation creates space for real connection and healing, especially. Uh, so from there, I have another question that what's that one final piece of wisdom for someone just beginning this emotional mastery journey?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Um, so I heard this put to me in a great way one time. It's allow yourself to be a white belt. And what I mean by that is if you go to take karate or martial arts,
Mm.
that if you go to the class and you see the black belt, the master who's really good at karate and he's doing all the special kicks and moves, and you say to yourself, oh, I want to be a black belt, but you're just a white belt. You've just started the path. So allow yourself to be a white belt instead of looking at like the black belt and saying, oh, I got to get there. Let it motivate you. That's fine. But allow yourself to be in the space you're at. Accept how you're feeling. Accept that you may not know all the ways yet and understand everything about yourself and others yet. So self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-love is such a great way to start. It's just a beginner. I mean, you wouldn't expect somebody who just started a job, if it was your first day at your job and your boss yelled at you and said, why are you so stupid? You can't do any of this stuff. You'd say, well, it's my first day. I don't know anything. And so the person has to do the same thing and just recognize that they're brand new at this. And so be patient and kind to yourself and allow yourself to be in the space exactly where you're at. And congratulations for even starting, because a lot of people don't even start something like that.
That's wonderful and that's amazing. So, if the listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
So email is going to be the best way, and it's beyondlimitshealing@gmail.com. Again, that's beyondlimitshealing@gmail.com. Reach out to me with an email and we can connect and do a free discovery call to see if we align and match.
Okay, sure. And I will make sure that to attach all the details and links below so that our listeners can find them easily. So with that, we have come to the end of the show. And to our listeners, Donnie Summers shows us that emotional mastery isn't about controlling what we feel. It's about learning how to respond with wisdom, not reflex. So, if you are ready to move from reactivity to regulation, remember peace doesn't start when life gets easier, it starts when you get clearer. Thanks for joining us on Inner Peace Better Health. Until next time, stay centered, stay curious, and listen to Inner Peace Better.